Everyone, welcome to the virtual information session hosted by the Brown School Office of Admissions and Recruitment and the Kathryn M Center for American Indian Studies. My name is Wynette Whitegoat, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Booter Center and an alum of the Brown School. I'm also a member of the Navajo Nation. My co-presenter today is Sarah Birch. Sarah, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Wynette. So I'm Sarah Birch. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions and Recruitment for the Brown School. Very excited to be co-hosting the session with you, Wynette, and to allow folks to get to know the Booter Center a little more.
Yeah, for sure. So today we will be offering you tips to consider when applying to graduate school, as well as information about the Brown School's program offerings and how the Booter Center supports American Indian and Alaska Native students enrolled at the Brown School. There are two features that I want to share with you. There's the chat box where you can share a little bit more about who you are and where you're from. You can also share any questions that you have along the way in the Q&A box. So to get things started today, I'll ask Sarah to share a little bit about the Brown School.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Brown School is comprised of 3 graduate programs. We offer a Master of Social Work, a Master of Public Health, and a Master of Social Policy dual degree option. We have an 11-to-1 student to faculty ratio, so lots of opportunities for our students to interact with faculty, and I'd say it is a hallmark of our school and our program to have such a collaborative space where folks really feel in community with one another and feel in relationship with faculty who are doing such amazing work in the fields that they're experts in. We have 15 faculty affiliated research centers at the Brown School, the Booter Center being one of them, and 3 community-based research initiatives as well. So we're very involved in the St. Louis region, and a lot of the work that we do impacts communities surrounding us. We have over 17 student groups and leadership opportunities, so wonderful ways for students to get connected and find folks who share interests, cultural identities, affinities, those sorts of things. And then finally, something that we're really proud to offer is our Merit Scholarship Awards. So, and everyone who is admitted to the Brown School and requests a Merit Scholarship will receive an award.
There we go. I always like to take a step back when doing this presentation to briefly cover what is professional education. It is the education process, a program that develops students or individuals to acquire special competencies for professional practice. There are many forms of professional practice, including law, policy, education, nursing, medicine, or engineering. The type of graduate program you attend will prepare you to respond to varying situations that arise in your field of choosing. This is especially true for public health, social work, and social policy as well. Sarah, can you share a little bit more about the programs offered at the Brown School?
Yeah, so I'd like to kind of take a bird's eye view of the 3 different areas of study at the Brown School, because while they are unique areas of study, they're also very intersectional, and a huge reason why we've decided to have these 3 programs all under the same roof. It's a really unique offering because not many schools in the nation offer these 3 programs under the same roof. And I think that really just lends to the opportunity to collaborate more amongst folks who are like-minded, but also who have different perspectives and areas of expertise that can really lend to each other and ultimately make for better solutions to really complex issues. Social work is a field that's aimed at improving the overall well-being of populations. And well-being encompasses a lot of different things, from mental health to overall health to education, economic well-being, those sorts of things, but especially for those who are historically underserved. We want to ensure that the work that we're doing is elevating folks that have been traditionally marginalized. And that work happens at the micro, meso, and macro level of practice. Micro meaning working one-on-one with individuals, either in direct practice or in small groups. Meso meaning working across communities and in collaboration with organizations, and macro meaning large scale impact. So thinking about policy and systems and how we make big changes on a big scale. And all of these things intersect too. Public health is a science of promoting and protecting the health of people in the communities where they live, learn, work, and play. I think one of the unique aspects of the Brown School's public health program is that there is this very concerted focus on social determinants of health. And it's why it makes a lot of sense to have the public health program in the same school as the School of Social Work, because we want to understand more about a person's environment and what it is that's contributing to their ability to live, learn, work, play healthfully, safely, and in a way that they can thrive. And then finally, social policy is a discipline that examines and promotes social and health equity for humans locally, nationally, and internationally. It's different than public policy because we're looking specifically at issues around equity, so socioeconomic equity, racial equity, health equity, things that are really kind of behind the scenes. Maybe we don't see them all the time, but are policies that are in place either through organizations where people work, all the way up to big policies at the state or national level, or even in other countries where it's really impacting the ability for specific populations and groups to thrive. So this is another unique aspect of the Brown School, and that policy is a really huge part of the work that we do, because we really do see it as something that affects everything at all levels.
Thank you so much. And all of these programs are definitely helpful to Indian country. These professions and fields of study are very common. Native professionals holding positions in these areas are decision makers at the national, urban, and tribal levels. Thank you. So the process of earning your graduate degree can be broken down into 3 phases. The first being undergraduate preparation, which many of you are now completing or have completed. The next phase is evaluating programs and personal goals, as well as looking at the application process. And finally, the completion of your graduate studies. Today, we'll primarily talk about number 2, because this is kind of what this presentation is geared to, and we want to prepare you for that. So when thinking about the length of graduate programs, time is such an important consideration when thinking about graduate school. Typically for master's programs, they last 2 to 3 years and consist of coursework, practicum, which is like an internship, exams, and sometimes, depending on program and accreditation requirements, a thesis or cumulative exam. We also have PhD programs that they tend to be more focused on research. They last 4 to 8 years, depending on the field of study. Coursework is part of the curriculum with an emphasis on acquiring research skills. And it's meant to prepare students for the dissertation portion of their program. There is a heavy emphasis on publishing journal articles by working with faculty at the university. Sometimes there is an internship portion, but that varies by school. Doctor of Philosophy programs do allow bachelor level degree holders to apply with special consideration. So I just want to give you a little bit of information about the differences between the programs. So the Brown School offers 3 different three different degree programs. There's the traditional MSW students who can complete their program in 2 years. Students coming into the Brown School with a Bachelor of Social Work from an accredited institution, they will be on the MSW Advanced Standing track, which can be completed in 1 year or 1.5 years. Those in the Master of Public Health program will complete their studies in 2 years, and then students who are in the dual degree programs complete all of their coursework in about 3 years. Do you want to share a little bit more information about this, Sarah?
Sure, yeah. So I think, when thinking about this too is just understanding that it's a commitment. What Wynette said is it's exactly right. Knowing that the next 2+ years, you're really going to be spending a lot of time focused on graduate coursework, and it's rigorous. And one of the things we like to say is graduate school's hard, but it's meant to be challenging because it really is a time for you to become an expert in the area that you're studying. If you have questions about, what it could look like if you wanted to add, say, one of the other degrees to be a dual degree candidate, you could always reach out to admissions to ask us about what that process is like, because we often have students who will come in as just MSW or just MPH and then decide they'd like to add on either MSP or the other program. And we can certainly make that happen too, but it would add an additional year of study to your program. So I think knowing that beforehand and knowing what kind of commitment you have ahead of you is really crucial, especially if you have family or you have goals for a career down the road. So
that's certainly important. And here at Washington University, students who are interested in getting maybe the MSW degree but want to pair it with a law degree, that's also possible too. And we do offer joint degree programs with other schools within WashU. Yes. Okay, what to know? I like to make this as simple as possible. There's the applicant's responsibilities, and also there's the program attributes. And I'll go a little bit more into what the first one means, but I think just breaking it down into 2 categories makes the approach a little bit easier and smooth. So for applicants' responsibilities, this is finding the best program for you. That's your ultimate goal, is to find the best program that works for you, that meets majority of your needs, so that way you can go and spend the next 2 to 3 years in that program and acquire as many skills and as many theories and approaches and all of the stuff that you are going to the master's program for. That's your ultimate goal, is find the program that is best for you. You will be spending the next 2 to 3 years dedicated to coursework that will add breadth and depth to your skills so that you can position yourself for career advancement or continue to make a meaningful contribution to your field and community. Next, applicants will need to align their interests with faculty, research, and coursework offered at the school. This is really, I think, important. Sometimes applicants don't necessarily focus on this piece, more of just finding the best fit. But for those who are really interested in a particular topic, they want to make sure that there's faculty at the university that can provide you with guidance in exploring that topic area. For those who are very passionate about those particular areas, maybe it's helpful to get a research or teaching assistantship within that university as well. So just looking into, is that a possibility within that institution? Do they make that available to their master degree programs? And some institutions do, and it's kind of building upon the curriculum that you are gaining, the coursework, and then building upon it with that relationship with faculty or research centers. And it's also a great way to not only gain skills, but receive that mentorship. I think that mentorship is so important when you're in graduate school. So that way you feel part of the community at the university, but she can also build that mentorship and turn it into professional relationships after you graduate. And lastly, your responsibility is to provide accurate and valuable information when it comes to the application process. So just kind of thinking about that process and making sure that when you are going through and open up the application, or you start looking through and breaking down and organizing the graduate school's requirements for applying, that you have everything there and you start reaching out. And we'll talk a little bit more about those pieces down the road. So this next slide is, again, you want to maximize your time and effort when you're applying to graduate school, because you are certainly going to be spending a lot of time and a lot of effort studying. So it's important to be organized from the start. Each graduate program is unique in their offerings and approach to the field of work that you're considering. So make a list of what is important to you in graduate school. Is it the focus of the program? Is it financial assistance? Is it faculty to student ratio, research facilities? Any other opportunities that could really build upon your skills? Support systems are so important, especially when it comes to Native students. We want to make sure that we have a support system within the university's community. So I always encourage students to search the internet, databases, and other resources for programs, but also talk to alum of the program if you have those connections, or talk to admissions representatives. It's always important to do that because they have the information and they've been asked so many questions, and some of these questions are frequently asked questions. So reach out to admissions representatives. They can certainly provide you or point you in the right direction, especially if your question is very specific to the program. So when thinking about program attributes and finding the right match, there are 5 categories here. There's so many more to consider, but I broke these down primarily into these 5 because this is what I've seen students kind of ask me about. And so the first being criteria for acceptance. So what is the minimum GPA for acceptance? All schools tend to put this on their website, and it's always important to ask. What is the minimum test for acceptance? So some graduate schools require the GRE, or if you're going into business school, there's the GMAT, and then there's the LSAT for law school. So just looking at those criteria for acceptance, but also understand that there's so much more to application than just those scores, but it is important to think about that. The next is course content. What does a school offer in terms of courses? Because that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be learning within these courses, and what do they have? What can they offer? Faculty research, expertise, and reputation. Again, this is going back to what are faculty doing? What is their expertise area? So that way you can learn from them. You can build that connection and receive mentorship. And sometimes it's helpful to look at publications, any presentations that they've done. Sometimes faculty attend conferences, and those conference presentations are online. So it's good to kind of just explore a little bit and get a little bit more information about the faculty that you're interested in taking courses from. As well as the course catalog again. There's also program reputation. So if you're interested in going to a really well-known university, there are ratings out there, and if that's something that's important to you, then that's great. But it's also not always about that too. And create your own understanding of what you want in a program. What is program reputation to you? We all think about program reputation differently, and so I think it's important to take that into consideration. It's not always about the rankings. And then financial resources. This is so important when thinking about graduate school because education is expensive sometimes. And what financial resources are there within the university? Do they offer support services to their students? And what other funding sources can I receive that are external to the university? There are so many organizations within Indian country that support Native students, especially with graduate school. So be sure to tap into those and look into those as well. And last, as an applicant, you might weigh one of these categories more than the others, whether it's financial resources, because that's just what's important to you, then that's going to happen. And you also want to create a list of schools that you're interested in and categorize them. For instance, my mountaintop school would be one that requires great testing scores and 3.8 GPA. So I'm just giving an example from my end. So that's the mountaintop. But I know that I'm sitting below those requirements in testing. So, you know, I'm not sure. That's my reach school. That's the school my dream school. I want to go there. But that's intuitive to you. Again, every person's different. And then for 50-50 programs, those are the ones that like, you know, I might get in or I'm not too sure. It's just like, you just feel it. Like when you're applying, when you're looking through the program, like this is where I want to go. And I got a good feeling, but I'm just not quite sure. And those are your 50-50 schools. And then there's the done deal. Those are the ones that you're like, you feel really good about, and you know that you have a higher chance of being accepted compared to your 50-50 or the mountaintops. And I always encourage students to apply to multiple programs. And whatever that number is for you, that's your number, but just also aiming high and reaching high too. So when it comes to applying for each program, I tell applicants to compile a list of any required coursework or test scores, GPA requirements, volunteer and leadership experience, application deadlines and fee deadlines, and organize it. I think that's just the best way to do it, is just to have this, whether it's a personal calendar that you write into or an electronic calendar, or you just create a nice little Excel spreadsheet for yourself. But putting that stuff and creating deadlines for yourself is going to be very important, and knowing what those deadlines are and keeping to those deadlines. So set a timeline for completing each part of the application process, whether it's the statement of purpose or gathering your transcripts or asking for reference letters. Create a nice little timeline that's realistic to your, I know everyone has their own jobs and things like that, so create that realistic timeline for yourself and stick to it. You'll also want to study for or take any required admissions tests if that's a requirement of the university that you're applying to. There are multiple study guides out there. There's preparatory courses, online trainings, books, CDs, there's free trial tests, all this stuff out there, and that's helpful to kind of get started. You'll also want to develop your resume and ask a faculty member or advisor to review it, or even perhaps a relative that is in a similar field that you're going into. That would be helpful. And you also want to contact your potential recommenders. So those recommendation letters are important. They're all important. All pieces of the application is important, but I think it's helpful for admissions officers to hear from someone that is not you. And so they give you a little bit more information about you as an individual. They can speak to you as a person who wants to go back and return to their own tribal community and do the work that needs to be done. And they can speak to your character a little bit more. And I can assure you that it's important to do this as soon as possible rather than later, because you want to give them time to think about you and have that conversation with you. If they ask, let's set up 2 to 3 meetings before I really start writing my draft for the recommendation. So this one, it does require a lot of planning. So be sure to think about that and incorporate that at the beginning of your timeline rather than later. And also, arrange to have all of the transcripts sent to the appropriate schools. So most schools require sealed transcripts sent directly from the undergraduate institution to the graduate school. So, and I know right now everything's kind of slowing down when it comes to mail and operations. So try to get that stuff in early. Is there anything else that I'm missing? Yeah, okay. Any questions so far before I move on to the next slide?
There was a question actually.
Oh, okay.
And I think this would go really well with the next slide too.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to go to the next one.
Sure.
The question was if we have any advice for applicants with a lower GPA and how to stand out in your application when the GRE isn't required for the Brown School. Is this something we should explain in the application? And so as you can see, yes, we do not require any standardized test scores for any of our programs this year. The MSW application and the MSP application have never required GRE, and MPH is not requiring GRE either this year. And so I think we get this question a lot, and it's a really good question to ask because we know that our applicants come from a variety of backgrounds and have a variety of strengths. And just because one aspect of an application like a GPA may not be as high as you would like it, other aspects of the application can really help you shine as an applicant. And so for the Brown School, we're really looking at all of these pieces of the application in a holistic manner, which means that there's no one cutoff point for us. We're going to consider multiple factors when it comes to your strengths and what you have to offer as an applicant. There is a space in the application if there is something that you would like to provide a little more context around. I think that's really helpful for us as application reviewers to just have that context around maybe if there are any academic extenuating circumstances or other personal events that you feel comfortable sharing that you would like us to be aware of, because that's all really important for us to know too. We know that life happens and that you know, those things can impact our educational and professional journeys. And so including that information, I think, is really helpful, not only to you as an applicant, but then to us as reviewers, because it gives us a full picture of who you are and what you have to offer. So to kind of sum that up, you can certainly write anything you'd like to explain extenuating circumstances, but then really focus on the other aspects of the application, the ones you have the most control over, which for our applicants are going to be their essays, your personal statement, if you're applying to MSW, the analytical essay, and then I really liked what Wynette shared about references, giving them plenty of time to write those letters for you, making sure it's someone that likes you and will write something that really makes a statement about who you are and your potential to do well. I think, you know, our preference is always for academic references, so past professors or professional references. But if there aren't folks coming to mind for that, talk to us and see, would this person be a good letter of reference or recommender, because a variety of folks that you interact with could be great recommenders, so you can always ask. And that's something else I want to really highlight, to ask questions. Wynette highlighted that a couple slides before, but I really emphasize that for all of our applicants. Ask questions, reach out to us, reach out to the programs that you're applying to. Don't be afraid to continue to reach out. That's what we're here for. We want to make this a transparent and seamless process for you. And we know that applying to graduate school is stressful. This has been a stressful year. It's been stressful for so many of us because of all that's going on in the world. And applying to graduate school is stressful as well. So we want to make sure that it's as little stress as possible for you. So asking questions is super important for that. Other thing I'll note on this slide, and then Wynette, you can jump into if there's anything you want to add about application requirements, but we do have an application fee available for a variety of eligible groups, and that does include Native students as well. So the application fee can be waived for you. We are going to have another virtual info session in a couple weeks on tips for submitting your strongest application to the Brown School. So if you want to tune into that and get even more inside scoop on what it is that we're looking for in an application, definitely recommend joining us on October 15th for that info session.
We also have another question. Are there ever any students that earned an MSW or MSP to apply to the creative industry or marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really wonderful about these fields, social work and policy and public health truly, is that they're really broad fields, and they can be applied in a variety of settings. One of the aspects of the Brown School is that we have an Office of Career Services that really connects students with opportunities that are of interest to them. And a focus has been connecting students to more non-traditional career paths for social work, public health, and social policy. I don't know if there's ever been anyone that has specifically gone into a creative industry or marketing that I can think of. It doesn't mean that it's not possible, and that doesn't mean that it didn't happen, because I can completely see using either types of these degrees to go into a field where you're utilizing communication skills, because these are very human focused degrees. And when we're looking at how to reach folks, and marketing and certainly other creative fields have this as an aspect, is knowing who your audience is and knowing humans. And that, I think that can be where you can really find some nice intersection between the two. Now, if your goal though is to go into a creative industry or marketing, then maybe an MSW or an MSP isn't for you. And maybe you should look at masters in communication or masters in marketing. Business degrees can also be great for that. Art degrees can be great for that too. So do some searching around what it is you want, because there's also a lot of very unique programs out there. I've come to learn over my years of working in higher ed that there are some super unique graduate programs out there. So there might even be something that's super specific to what you're interested in.
Really good. Thanks, Sarah. I'm going to go on to the next slide. And yes, please ask about fee waivers. I think that's really important, especially if you're applying to multiple programs. It's important to ask if there's a fee waiver available for you. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into kind of what we do at the Buder Center. So this year at the Buder Center, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary by honoring Kathryn M, the visionary and founder of the center. You can see my little 30th anniversary logo there. And, the center's vision is to prepare American Indian and Alaska Native students to become leaders in their community, making significant contributions to the health, wellness, and sustained futures of Indian country. We certainly strive to be a premier graduate degree program in social work, committed to the education of American Indian and Alaska Native students who are interested in giving back to Native communities. We certainly support American Indian and Alaska Native leaders, so that way they can learn here at the Brown School, continue to do their best here at the Brown School, and so that way they can re-enter Indian country and work and support. There's so much need within Indian country, and so we help students with supporting them in the demanding course of study that is here at the Brown School. It is certainly a rigorous program, but we do as much as we can to support students who are here. We also have, to date, there are about 212 Booter Scholar graduates and currently 23 Booter Scholars at the center. So it's really exciting for us this year, especially it being the 30th anniversary, and to have over 200 students graduate from the Brown School that are Native and have been Booter Scholars. At the Booter Center, we really focus on student development, collaboration, and research and evaluation in order to cultivate a space of learning for Native students. We have two programs that I'll mention in a moment that focus on research and practicum. So when you're at the Brown School, you are required to participate in a practicum experience as part of your concentration. For those who are interested in selecting a practicum within Indian country, we have the Social Workers Advancing Through Grounded Education program. The SAGE program recruits, trains, and financially supports Brown School students as they complete 360 hours of their practica in Indian country. Students from the MSW, MPH, or dual degree programs are welcome to participate in SAGE if they wish to complete their practicum in a Native serving organization. To date, we have more than 40 affiliated sites with the Brown School, and we also have so many other organizations there that have shown interest and expressed interest in hosting a student from the Brown School. We also have the Indigenous Research Initiatives that support and engage communities program. The iRaise program is an opportunity for students to engage in a fellowship opportunity, and it could be on a project of the student choosing or on a joint effort with a collaborating organization. Students receive mentorship and guidance on the project and receive research development from the Booter Center's research manager and director. There are also student-led groups here at the Brown School. There's the American Indian Student Association, and I believe you said there's 17 altogether. Is that what you said? Yeah. So ACE is one of them. We also have the WashU Powwow Committee. ASA hosts events for the Brown School community, and the WashU Powwow Committee hosts the annual WashU Powwow, which attracts hundreds of people from across the country, and we're really excited about it. For this upcoming year, we will be hosting the first ever powwow, virtual powwow on March 27th and March 28th. So we're gearing up for that. We're really looking forward to it. And lastly, I do want to mention, and I think this is also very important, when you graduate the Brown School and part of the Booter Center and being a Booter Scholar, you are students are opened up to a whole network of Booter Scholars, and these are alumni and other professionals who are tapped into our network and just do so much within Indian country. You might know someone, or someone from the alumni network mentioned this opportunity to you, but we are very close, and they're in Indian country is very small, so you might know someone. But those are just a quick overview of some of the programs and services that we offer to students. Next, I will talk a little bit about the American Indian and Alaska Native concentration. The American Indian and Alaska Native concentration is one of 10 concentrations offered in the MSW program. To best serve Native communities, it is critical that social workers understand the culture, politics, and practices of those being served. The concentration offers students the ability to understand historical and contemporary issues facing Native folks, preparing students to effectively serve Native populations in a variety of settings. The courses included in the concentration are the Indigenous Knowledge, Values and Culture course, the AIAN Social Welfare Policies and Administrative Practices, Indigenous Mental Health Practice, Community Development with American Indian and other Indigenous communities, and students also get to choose from one of the following tracks. There's Direct Practice Behavioral Health track, direct practice trauma-informed track, and the community track. So in addition to those first four courses listed, those tracks, students will be able to, depending on the track, choose a course that is related to that particular track. So those who are interested in the direct practice trauma-informed track, that's for students who plan to work with AIA and communities coping with trauma through a direct practice lens. Those who are interested in the direct practice behavioral health are students who plan to work with Native communities experiencing mental health and substance abuse conditions through a direct practice lens. And then community track is for those who plan to work in community building, capacity development, leadership, and asset building in Native tribes and communities. So the last bullet there, where it says 360 hours of concentration practicum in Indian country, those who are in the AIA and concentration and want to serve or complete those practicum hours within Indian country, then that's where SAGE would kick in, if you are eligible and get approved for SAGE. Okay. So the Buder Center also facilitates the GA Junior and Kathryn Buder Charitable Foundation Scholarship. So the scholarship recipients are selected by the foundation, and this scholarship offers full scholarships, which is full tuition support, monthly stipend, professional development opportunities, and books for 2 years of full-time study in the Master of Social Work program at the Brown School. So this is only limited to the MSW program at the Brown School, but it certainly offers a lot of support. And before students can start applying for this scholarship, they have to be admitted to the Brown School's MSW program. So within the application for the Brown School MSW program, there is a space where you would select that you intend to apply to the Buder Foundation Scholarship. And from there, that'll kind of just notify us that you're interested, and we can certainly reach out to you after you've been admitted. So just to sum things up a little bit, as social work, public health, and social policy professionals, these individuals are certainly change agents, and they meet the needs of Indian country. They do the much needed work, very difficult work to make change happen in their communities. And this is very important for Indian country because there's so much so much potential within Indian country, and there's so much that has already been done that needs to be built upon. So as change agents, you guys those who are considering social work, public health, and social policy as their degree, you'll certainly be nation builders, capacity builders, and you will certainly think holistically about systems, so that way you can provide positive and community leadership. And so that way you can create, adjust, and continue programs that support Native children, families, and communities. And these are just some of the career paths. Oops, I think I advanced too much. There we go. These are just some of the career paths and sectors that students have gone into after the Brown School, whether it's working for their own tribal government or a social services within their tribal government, Indian Health Service. That's also been an area where students have gone into community-based organizations serving Native folks, whether it's social entrepreneurship, because that is certainly something that we can offer here at the Brown School. Is you're interested in business and social work, but you kind of aren't sure how to merge those two interests or those two fields. We certainly offer social entrepreneurship courses here at the Brown School. There's urban and rural health clinics, there's tribal schools and colleges, and there's so many more out there that many more organizations that our students have gone into. after graduation. And lastly, what does success look like for you? It's finding the graduate program that's right for you, taking in a lot of those considerations that were mentioned earlier in the presentation, and that once you start looking through offers and weighing those offers, it's making sure that you receive them, and then also accepting the best offer. This process is really about you, and you should certainly make it about you. So to get to this final step of just accepting the offer, make sure you plan ahead, seek support from mentors, continuously follow up with recommenders or essay reviewers, apply for scholarships and other funding sources, and receive feedback and make adjustments when necessary. So thank you so much for listening in, and I hope you're able to take a few points from this and apply it to your application process coming up. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me. It's been fun.
Yeah, this has been a pleasure. A couple questions come in toward the end, so I'd love to use this time. We do have a few minutes still, so if anyone has any other questions, please submit them through the Q&A function. But one of the questions that we got was, when would the application for the Master of Social Work be available? Great question. Love that question. Next week, we are planning to launch the MSW application. So be on the lookout for sure. We'll send out notifications. If you get notifications from the Office of Admissions, you'll get the notification that the application is open. I also want to encourage everyone who's watching live today, if you haven't already, to fill out the contact form that I shared in the chat box. That'll let us know that you joined us today, and then that will definitely ensure that you get a notification from us when the application opens. The next question we got, and this is one for you, Lynette. Does the Booter Center offer academic tutoring services for grad students?
Yes. So it really depends. So when you come into the social work degree program, we can certainly support you in searching for tutors. It's a lot of writing. So we have office hours here at the Booter Center where you can meet with our staff and get support with whether it's a paper that you're working on or thinking through a presentation that that's coming up for you. So we can certainly provide that support with you, for you, excuse me. Yeah, so yes, awesome. It might not be in the traditional way of tutoring, but we offer a lot of feedback, yes.
That's awesome. And I can also vouch for truly everyone at the Booter Center, and really so many folks at the Brown School are there and available to help with all aspects of your time at the Brown School. Another question we received is age a factor when applying, and what is the average age range in these programs? So age is not a factor. First and foremost, I want to make that abundantly clear. We welcome folks of all ages to apply to the Brown School, whether you have just graduated from undergrad or you have been working in the field for several years. You are welcome. So please know that that is not something that we are going to consider as part of your admissibility. The average age range of our students, though, it does range from, we've had students as young as 22 and 23 years old, and students as old as 67. So it's quite a range. The average age is around 24. So a big majority of our students are those who have just graduated from undergrad or have worked in the field for a couple years. But please know that does not, that's not indicative of, who we want at the Brown School. We want and welcome everybody who wants to join us. Another question. Thank you all so much for submitting these great questions. When is the deadline to apply for the MSW? Love that question too. So we have a couple deadlines to keep in mind. Our first deadline is December 15th, and that's our priority consideration deadline. That priority piece essentially means a couple things. One is that you are going to be given priority consideration for scholarship. I mentioned earlier that we have merit scholarships, and Moynette also talked about the Booter Charitable Fund that is available too. And the earlier you apply, the more priority you are given for the scholarships that are available, because as you can imagine, as we get later into the application cycle, those funds start to deplete because we're awarding them. So applying early is key. So December 15th, that's also going to ensure that you get a decision back from us early too. Anyone who applies by December 15th will get an admission decision by February 1st. Do have rolling admissions after that though, so you can apply anytime after that. And our next deadline is March 1st, which is our regular decision deadline. Still scholarship available at that deadline too, but just note that early is better, but a strong application is best. So submit when you're ready and you feel really good about your application. All right, next question. How many Native students are currently at the Brown School, and what does the overall student demographic look like?
I'll take the first question. There are about 23 Booter Scholars at the Brown School right now. If you go to our website, and it's on your screen right now, and if you know how to use the QR code, you take a picture, and it'll take you to the Booter Center website where you can explore a little bit more about the program offerings, but there is a tab where you can find our Booter Scholars and just learn a little bit more about them. And then overall student demographics. I do not know that. Sarah?
Yeah, I can share that. So I shared the age range of our students earlier, average age being around 24. This year, I believe, percentage-wise, we have 37% of our students as students of color. So and that's the incoming cohort. Last year, the incoming cohort was 42%. So then we also consider, you know, where folks are from when looking at demographics, and we have a really vibrant international student population at the Brown School as well. I'm blanking on what the exact stat is for that one, but you can find that on our website too, and I'd be happy to link you there. But we have a very diverse student body and students coming from all walks of life and all identities. Next question, what are some of the key topics that a reference letter should contain? Example, leadership. Yes, leadership is great. I think of when I'm reading a really strong letter of recommendation, is one that really highlights your strengths as an individual and what your potential is to do well, specifically in the field that you're applying to. So if it is social work, for example, it's great if that recommender can speak to, you know, some of the attributes and qualities that you bring as a student that would really lend to your success in the field. Another thing that I think is really good is if a recommender provides really specific examples of times where they maybe collaborated with you on a project or saw you in action, maybe in a classroom, and can speak to, you know, how you show up as a student, how you show up as a professional, and give specific examples of those types of things. That's also really helpful for us to know. And looks like we'll have one more question. Is there a limit of how many students get accepted yearly into the Brown School? Great question. So no, we use a holistic application review process, which means that if you're admissible, you're admissible. We welcome, like I said, applications from folks, from all folks and who want to join the Brown School and who are a good fit for the Brown School. So fit goes both ways. You know, we want to make sure that this is a good fit for you, but we also want to make sure that you're a good fit for us too. So that's what we're considering when we're reviewing applications, but we don't have a cutoff of how many applications we accept. We will accept applications until you know, our application deadlines have passed. There are, I guess I should mention, limits on some scholarship availability. So that's where some of that starts to come into play. So applying early, for example, but those types of things won't dictate if you're admissible, and you'll still get admitted to the Brown School. So hopefully that answers that question. I can also share a little bit about cohort size too. We welcome it's usually right around 300 new students to the Brown School each year. That's all students, so MSW, NPH, and MSP. Our MSW cohort is the largest, about I think about 220 is usually the average. Class size is a little smaller this year, 187, I believe, if I'm remembering my numbers correctly, and about 70 new MPH students. So yeah, they're decent class sizes, but when you get into the classroom, it's really intimate, and you'll have, you know, especially when getting your concentration, a really intimate group of students that you get to know really well, and will kind of follow along with you throughout your time at the Brown School.
Thank you. And you can also meet with Sarah or I individually. So if you have any other specific questions that you want to think about a little bit more, or just kind of accumulate after this presentation, you can certainly reach out to us. My contact information is listed there, and then you can go over to the Brown School Graduate Program requirements and find the admissions portal, and they'll be able to list all the information that you need there. Any other thoughts?
No, this was great, Wayna. Thank you again so much. I just put my email in the chat too, so if you want to reach out to me as well, please feel free to. I'm also going to link again that contact form, so if you didn't have a chance to fill that out, we would love for you to do so. And if a question of yours did not get answered today, definitely reach out with those questions too, because we make sure that we answer them. Can't reiterate that enough. So yeah, here again is the link to the contact form that I'm going to send in the chat. But I think that's it for me. So thank you so much, Wynette. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Hope to talk to you all soon.